A news conference earlier today to launch a safety deployment along the N2 and airport precinct area, which, as you know, if you drive along it a lot or have regular conversations with people who drive along it a lot, and as we know, because we get a lot of complaints and oh dears from people who have been the subject of criminal attack, it's a hotspot for criminal activity, an area of pretty significant danger to motorists. Alderman JP Smith is the Mayoral Member for Safety and Security. What are you doing differently now, JP? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Afternoon to your listeners. We are adding 44 more officers to the N2 R300 area around the airport approach road. So those are our most high-risk roads. We have a freeway safety plan that we've been running for the last few years that includes those two roads, N2 R300, N7, N1, Baden-Powell, and to a lesser extent the M5. The ability to maintain enough resources on it at all times to do justice to that plan has been challenging, and we're now adding 44 more officers with vehicles and equipment to that equation to both deal with the crime prevention issues on those roads and also the improved road safety, because whilst crime is a threat, so too is really bad driving behavior from other people on the road.
Those 44, I mean, given the fact that people are on leave and people are sick and their shifts and they might be needed elsewhere, in practice, at any given time, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning or 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, how many more officers will be around? Where will they be? Will they be visible? Will they be static? Will they be patrolling?
So the 44 will give you 11 more, 10 officers and a supervisor per shift. Most of them, or all of them, should be on duty except those who have specific leave. So maybe you have one off per shift for whatever reason. As a whole, we currently deploy in excess of 50 officers per shift towards the freeway safety project. So a not insignificant resource commitment daily to trying to keep people safe on our freeways. And as a consequence, we assist around 400 to 600 people a month on our roads, where we stand down next to people on the road, either because we've detected them breaking down or becoming stationary via the CCTV cameras along that road, or they have, when having done so, have called us on the call center number, which we're displaying on the variable messaging signs, the 021-480-7700.
Okay, so one of the complaints that we get is, they're never officers, and when I do see them, they're four people out of a car chatting to each other or checking their phones. And given the way people drive, it's impossible for however many officers you have on duty to be everywhere where people are driving badly and causing a danger to themselves and other motorists, and where pedestrians be in danger or are a danger to passing motorists. I mean, what can one realistically expect to see along the N2?
So the N2 and R300, N7 as well, probably Baden-Powell, because of the broken piece of legislation called the PI Act, which is desperately in need of amendment. We have a challenge in that informal settlements have been next to impossible to prevent the unlawful occupation of land. And so in many places you have structures intruding or encroaching very close upon road areas, and that creates easy opportunities for people targeting road users with attacks, but also permits for pedestrians to enter the road reserve. So whilst we're adding extra boots on the ground, I know that I myself for many years have been petitioning and fighting with the provincial government and SANROL to reinstate effective fences along the road reserves. It is unlawful for a person to be on the road reserve, but it is next to impossible to give effective enforcement to, because people do not carry identification. So when you find them on the road, giving them a fine that is effective and will change behavior is weak, and very often you have to take these persons into custody because they refuse to give you a name, and then in terms of the Criminal Procedures Act, you have to detain them to try and get a name from them. And so that can often be very time-consuming and laborious. So we do need to meet this challenge with both enforcement, which is what we're adding to, including the CCTV cameras and drones, which we're using, but also fencing. The fencing needs to be reinstated along the road reserve to keep people and animals out.
As quickly as you reinstate it, it'll be broken down again.
No, it won't, sir. Not if you build the correct fencing. And so out of all the attempts at fencing that have been vandalized, the one form that has withstood the test is the test part that they've built along the R300, the 3-tier or 3-slab concrete walls. Those are pretty indestructible. The city has built them in many places along 35th Avenue, in various council housing sections. And whilst everything else before it has been vandalized and removed, that is next to impossible to vandalize.
And do you have budget for that? I mean, is this a proposal you want to put before Mako, or is there budget approved and the construction is going to start sometime in the not-too-distant future?
The latter. We have for years, I have been petitioning Sunroll and the provincial government to undertake this. We have had many meetings as far back as MEC Robin Carlyle, many conversations over and over, and a couple of years ago, Mayor Hill Lewis said that he can see that this is not going to move and that the city will just have to step in and do it, as is very often the case with many things. And he has started that process of doing that assessment and going through the regulatory process of having to spend that kind of money, especially where it's not on our own assets. So that process is already underway.
And it's never going to be enough. The levels of criminality are such that it's never going to be enough. But do you think that the extra 44 and the fencing reinstated once that has happened is going to make motorists along those areas, significantly safer than they are at the moment?
I think it will certainly help, sir. We are generally able to get to a person who breaks down, whose car becomes stationary pretty quickly. I have many, I would say hundreds of emails from people thanking us for so. I even had a journalist yesterday who said that their bus broke down and officers were there shortly thereafter. We have had we've had failures in that. There was a horrific incident on the R300 with a lady who got murdered, where her vehicle ended up in a blind spot between cameras. So we will also be working with Sunroll on filling in those blind spots. And as I said, we're starting to do the more effective use of drones, but drones are somewhat curtailed because much of the area, of course, runs right through the controlled airspace next to the airport. And that makes the drone use a little bit challenging, but we are finding ways around that and doing what we can. So I think this will help. It does mean we will get to more people more quickly. All I ask is that people make sure that their vehicles have fuel, that they not stop on that road for any reason. We have people stopping for phone calls, running out of petrol, stopping to load or offload people, and then needlessly placing themselves in harm's way.
Mako member Alderman JP Smith, thank you very much for talking to us this afternoon.